Q&A episode. I've noticed that some Thai people don't say thank you if you help them financially with a loan or a gift of money. Is there a reason for this, or am I thinking about it too much? Well, I wouldn't say that you think about it too much because it's true that I notice that sometimes Thai people fail to say thank you. I think most of the Thai people that I know seem to say thank you for a lot of things, but I've noticed in some circumstances where Thai people wouldn't say thank you. For example, when you hold the door open for someone, it's not a given that that person would say thank you to you. Sometimes they would give you a little nod, and if you miss that nod, you might have thought they were just a bit rude. But I think the difference when it comes to using using thank you in Thailand is that even though it seems like a polite gesture, it's not written in the rule the same way that the Western world seems to write thank you in the rule. I think in the Western world, in the Anglo-Saxon culture, if you don't say thank you, it's so rude, it's almost like a crime. In Thailand, if people don't say thank you, it's rude too, but not to the same extent. I think it is because in Thailand, there is this concept of collectivism and social hierarchy. So you would see that sometimes people that think that they are better or maybe just objectively richer or more powerful than the other person wouldn't say thank you to someone who is in the lower rung in the society. And the person who doesn't receive the thank you would also not think too much about it because they sort of like, okay, know their place in the society. I'm below this person, this situation, so they don't owe me a thank you. Obviously, this is not something that I would like to promote, but it's just how it's done. And then when it comes to Thailand being more collectivistic, I think then people see helping the other person as something that is a must. In a more equal, egalitarian society, like in the West, you are all equal. So when you help someone, you should feel obliged to thank that person for taking the time and energy to help you. Whereas in a society where it's more socially hierarchical and collectivistic, I think helping the other person is more seen as keeping the harmony, keeping the society going as a whole. So the obligation to say thank you is slightly lessened. In my opinion, though, I think when I don't receive a thank you, I would still consider that rude. So to answer your question, yeah, I think those people that don't thank you for giving them gift, money, or help is quite rude. And maybe they take you for granted. If you're not happy with it, just maybe giving them a nudge and say like, oh, I would appreciate a thank you. That would be my recommendation. What do you think Thailand will look like in 25 to 50 years, socially, economically, politically, etc.? Wow. When I asked my audience to ask me questions, I had to admit that I expect a question like, what's your favorite fruit? But this question is something else. This is a really great question. I think that it deserves a video by itself. So make sure that you click the bell button and subscribe to this channel for an answer to this one question. Also, part 2 of the Q&A is coming out in a few days. All the more reason to subscribe and click the bell button. Should I learn to read and write Thai, or is it easy just to learn to speak? Well, it depends on your purpose of learning Thai. I think if you are learning Thai for integration, then at the end you would like to be able to do all of these skills. I think at first though, probably the skills that are the easiest to learn is the speaking and listening, because that is the same way that the Thai people learn the language as well. So I learned how to listen first, and then I spoke, and then I learned how to read and write when I was 6 or 7 years old. So I think that could also be a model that works for you as well. Learn how to hear words and how to replicate them. And then at some point when you could hear and speak better, then start finding a teacher or a book and then learn how to read or write. I think when it comes to integration and you want to do all of these skills, because imagine, for example, someone mentioned this to me the other day that when you go on the Google map and when you want to find a certain shop or restaurants or something, you get actually more results. You get more local results when you put in the keywords in Thai. So these kind of things could help you a lot in navigating, living a bit better in the country. Having said all of this, I think you have to look into your personality as well, because if you're someone who has a personality of a coder, I know people who like to crack codes, who like to crack languages and alphabets and grammars and all that. You might just enjoy in particular learning how to read or write. And if your brain is wired this way, I would say go that route first, and then you can learn how to speak and listen later as well. Just do what you enjoy first. But otherwise, I think for most people, I think listening and speaking skills are probably the most important one in living a happy and fun life in Thailand. So probably focus on these two first. But it's up to you at the end. What doesn't reflect online about the lifestyle of a local and a Farang in your opinion? That actually happens offline. That is a very difficult question. I don't know if I understand this question correctly, but I'm gonna try to answer it anyway. I think what tends to not be reflected or shown online about the lifestyle is the dirty laundry, the dark part, the part where people feel very vulnerable about, and it tends to be very negative as well. I think when it comes to a lifestyle of a Thai person, I think Thai people in general really value their families. You would see that on the social network, on Facebook, on Instagram, if it's their mom's birthday, I think people sometimes would post photo with their moms and just write like really long messages about their moms or their dads. But I tend to notice that the Thai people would not talk negatively about their families or their parents online. Even though offline, they might complain it with friends, they might complain it with their therapist, but it seems to be very out of line to air these things online. They might be afraid of being condemned by other Thai people, because if you betray your own family, it's almost like committing a crime in Thailand. I don't know if it's linked to Buddhism in particular or just linked to the Thai culture, but people seem to think that they owe their life to their parents. Obviously, there's certain theory that explains why people think this way, which I could tell you more in the future. But basically, even though you think that your parents are holes, you still owe them for giving you the lives. So it definitely crosses the line to talk about them negatively online. When it comes to a foreigner or a Farang, I suppose that you meant it as people that comes from the Western world. I think people from that comes from the Western world in general is afraid of appearing weak and uncool. I've seen some people that would talk about their parents online. I've seen a lot of people posting about the trauma that they suffer from growing up in their own families. So it's not the same with the Thai people that the Western people wouldn't talk about their families. I've noticed that they would talk about their families, but I think the Western people wouldn't admit online that they are weak, that they are lonely. Whereas for the Thai people, if you go on to the online dating website or the app, sometimes you could see the Thai people even write down on their bio that, oh, I'm lonely. And I think these sort of things would be very common among the Thai people to just air it online. Oh, I'm lonely, looking for someone. Whereas I think among the Western crowd, people wouldn't frame it in the way that they're lonely. They would just say, oh, I'm bored, looking for someone. Whereas they might actually be lonely too. That's my answer. I think Thai people tend to not talk about their parents negatively online. And I think the Farang, the Western people, tend to not talk about anything that is related to their personal weaknesses online. Any books you would recommend could be about Thailand or Thai culture. Yes, I do have one book which I love. This book is called A Fortune Teller Told Me, and it's written by Tisiano Tersani. He was a journalist and a writer. He's Italian, and I think when he was alive, he worked for a publication like Der Spiegel. So the premise of this book is uber interesting. So this guy lived in Asia for a long time, and I think he lived in Thailand in the late 80s to mid 90s or even early 2000. And when he was in Thailand, there was a year that he happened to be seeing a fortune teller out of, I think, his friend's suggestion. He thought like, why not? I live in Thailand and this is actually a very Thai thing to do, seeing a fortune teller. And the fortune teller told him that in this 1 year, you shouldn't get on the plane. If you get on the plane would crash. And he didn't actually believe in it, being a Western man as he was, but he was like, oh, why not? I would take that as a challenge because he also believed in slow traveling. So for that 1 year, he traveled most of the places by lands, by trains, and it was not just Thailand, but Southeast Asia and some other Asian countries as well. And I think the way that he described places, which was in the, I think in the early 90s, was very nostalgic and enticing. I was born in the mid 80s. So I think like when I was in the 90s, I still was quite young. So I still didn't get to see the world from an adult's eye. So when I wanted to see what people felt like in that time, this kind of book really gave me this like, oh, it was like that. It was like this. Singapore from his eye was like that. It wasn't the Singapore that I know now, which is very big, very economically driven country. Thailand that he described was not Thailand that I know now as well. I mean, if you like something a little bit melancholic, if you like something that describe Asia in a little bit of a retro feeling, then I would highly recommend this book, A Fortune Teller Told Me by Tiziano Tersani. I'm about to meet my boyfriend's parents. They don't speak English. What do I need to keep in mind? What are the don'ts? I don't want to make any mistake. This is tricky because there can be so many things, right? But at the same time, okay, I think I'm wrong in that because I think Thai people at the core is very easygoing. Everything could be concealed, everything could be corrected with a smile. If you make certain cultural faux pas, I think you would just say, oh, ขอโทษครับ ขอโทษค่ะ just apologize and then smile. And you might want to put the palm together and apologize. I think with your boyfriend's parents, for sure, when you meet them, make sure that you bow to them. They would like that. And then just keep your mood good and smile a lot. And when you aren't sure about something, just ask. And if you think that you do something wrong, just say sorry. I tend to think when it comes to parents of the Thai partner, they tend to be very lenient and very happy with their in-laws. Unless they are from the high society, then I don't actually know how they're going to behave. But I think if they're just like general Thais, I think Thai people in general are just quite friendly and so welcoming. And I think, if anything, sometimes I think Thai people can be even more lenient towards the in-laws that are from abroad than the Thai in-laws themselves. Because, I think people naturally tend to judge people more when it comes to someone from the same culture. When it comes to someone from a different culture, you give them a lot of benefit of doubt. So don't be scared. Be yourself, be in a good mood, smile, bow, and why. And good luck and have fun. I had the impression that Thailand and Japan have a special relationship. Is that true? And does the two populations feel any special bond, maybe because of cultural similarities, especially when it comes to politeness and hierarchy, and for historical and religious reasons? Very good questions. I've heard and seen people comparing between Thailand and Japan before. Nowadays, when I think of Japan and when I think of the perception of Japan in Thailand, it has been always positive. And I think people really look up to whatever that is Japanese. And not that long ago, when there was World War II, there was a lot of incidents. And one of the incidents happened at the bridge over the River Kwai, where a lot of soldiers, Thai soldiers, American soldiers were killed. And I think that there was probably hatred towards Japan during that time. But whatever hatred that was then, I think now it has disappeared. From my opinion, I think probably the world is holding grudge towards Germany more than towards Japan. And I think maybe because of the incident in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Anyway, what I'm going with this is that, yeah, Thai people nowadays really look up to Japan. And when it comes to the Japanese culture in Thailand, I think it's also something that is very in. There are many places that are decorated in a way that looks like Japan itself. When it comes to the similarities, Thai people and Japanese people are both very polite, leaning. I have discussed this with a friend who knows Japan very well and knows Thailand very well for this particular answer, because I actually haven't been to Japan, so I don't think that I'm super equipped when it comes to answer this question. But what he said is this. He said, yeah, it's true that many people would think that Thailand is the light version of Japan. Maybe that Thailand's like Japan, but without so much, restriction and not too much strict rules in the society. But at the same time, when it comes to being polite, for instance, in Japan, politeness is the rule. Whereas in Thailand, I don't think that being polite is actually the rule. Being polite is of value. In Japan, it seems to be both. It seems to be both rule and value. And in Japan, the society seems to be constructed in the way that is based on people being uber polite. My friend gave me this example that when you go into a cafe in Japan, you won't just go up to the cashier and ask them how they are. You won't just go and chit-chatting with random people who work in a shop. In Thailand, you can do that. Like, even though Thailand is a very social hierarchical country or culture or whatever, but it's very normal that you would go into a shop and then have a little bit of chit chat with people that work there. In Japan, everyone knows the rule. Everyone perform their function on the train in Japan as well. It's very quiet. I think on the train in Thailand, it's quiet too, but it won't be a crime to pick up a phone call on the train in Thailand, for example. I think in Japan, there seems to be this societal rule that you don't take a call on the train. Another example is the tipping culture. So Thailand doesn't have a tipping culture, but people are really happy and really appreciate it when you give them a tip, when you go for a massage and you leave them a tip, when you go to a restaurant and you give the waiter 20 baht, they'll be like, oh, thank you, ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณค่ะ. In Japan, tipping is considered rude. Tipping is like you telling them that they are poor, so they need more money. Oh, I forgot to answer about a special bond. I don't know really if there is a special bond. What I know for sure is that, like I said, Thai people look up to the Japanese people, and my friends who are fans of Japan also talk highly about Japanese people. And I think when Japanese people come and live in Thailand, I think they also live quite a happy life as well, because this is a country that people are still quite calm, which is quite similar to Japan, but at the same time, the society is not as strict as the Japanese society. So the Japanese people could relax a bit more here. What are the views on breastfeeding in Thailand? Do women feed their babies in public? I think Thailand is a very interesting place when it comes to breastfeeding because in some ways, showing too much of your body is considered obscene here, and you can actually get arrested for showing your boobs. But when it comes to breastfeeding as a concept, I think it seems to be common and not rude at all to mention it. I remember that when I worked in an office, there's this young mother, her child wasn't at work with her. She needed to collect her milk. And so she would just mention in the middle of the office, like, oh, breastfeeding time. No, milk collection time. And then she would just go to the bathroom and just, brought the equipment with her. And then she would come back with a bottle full of milk. Actually, there's another incident. I worked in another office, and there's a woman. She brought her baby, who was like, I think maybe like 4 or 5 months old, with her at the office, and the baby was just like lying there in front of the, like, at the office entrance. So everyone walked in and like, oh, baby and baby. So I think Thailand's pretty chill when it comes to having babies at work, I guess, unless you work in a fancy law firms or something. But otherwise, if you work in a governmental place or an NGO, then I think babies are pretty welcome when you really need to bring the baby at work. I didn't see her breastfeeding the baby, actually, did I? No, I didn't see it. I think probably. Oh, wait, I remember now. I think there was a point where I think there was a few girls that kind of put a cloth up to create this barricade for when she needs to breastfeed the child. So I think that is what happens. Anyway, yes, I think people are quite chill when it comes to breastfeeding in public, but just make sure that it doesn't become obscene to the public. What an interesting question. Thank you. Will Thai people be disapproving of people who move to Thailand as individuals and in which they, us, have left the parents in their countries of origins? So you were asking that whether Thai people would judge people who left their home countries and therefore left their families. The answer is no. No, I don't think so. I think this ties into what I've said earlier in this video, that I think Thai people tend to judge, not just Thai, but like people tend to judge people from closer cultures and from further away cultures. So I think when it comes to this sort of thing, I think Thai people would judge another Thai person for not taking care of their parents. But when it comes to people from other cultures, I notice Thai people would say like, yeah, it's a bit strange that this Western people won't take care of their parents, but that is how they grew up. Like, a lot of Thai people also know that in many cultures, people were forced to leave home once they turn 18. So because of that, there seems to be no obligation of coming back and taking care of the parents. I think Thai people do have the awareness that things work differently in other cultures. Therefore, the expectations shouldn't be placed the same way. And I actually haven't met a Thai person who would judge a foreigner for leaving their countries and not taking care of their parents. Second question. Yeah. Oh my God, this is a good question. So you're asking whether these Thai values such as social hierarchy and saving phase would affect working environment. And yes, it does. When it comes to working with people from different age, sometimes it would come down to the scenario where you have bosses who are younger than people that they have to supervise, or sometimes you would have this like passive aggression, people not following the order of their bosses, people don't want to do the things the bosses would say. And Vice versa, you sometimes have the bosses who don't want to wield their power because they feel like they're too young. In that scenario, a lot of things could happen. I think, though, when it comes to an organization where it's more international or an organization where it's more, I would say, fancied in some way, then I think these rules applied a bit less. I think the more international the organization, the more that people that work there would feel like they are protected by the international standard that was placed in that setup. So, for example, if you work in a place where there's Thai colleagues and Western colleagues, often you would pick a rule that is fitting for both, which is the rule in the middle. So I think you don't go into being super socially hierarchical. I think you would still be mindful of your colleagues that are older than you when it comes to dealing with the Thai colleagues. But when it comes to, having a discussion in a conference or something, I think people would just speak their mind a little bit more in this setup. I think people wouldn't be too concerned about age hierarchy in this setting. Otherwise, if you work in the government where everyone is Thai, I think the aspect of age hierarchy, social hierarchy would play quite a big role still. I don't have my personal experience anymore because I haven't been working in that sort of environment for like over 10 years. But I would say that, yeah, I could see that this saving face value, social hierarchical value would really come to play in a more Thai working environment. Do you have any insight into how Thai mentality affects ability to work in teams in objective professions such as science, medicine, engineering, or mathematics? It's such a specific question. I don't know if I understand the word objective professions in science, medicine. Let me answer it this way that I think it definitely affects working in general, but I don't know if it would affect certain types of professions more than the others. If I have to guess, I would say that it affects this sort of objective professions a bit less because these professions that you mentioned, science, medicine, engineering, or mathematics, can be quite measured by math and science. I think that when it comes to dealing with this sort of profession, if you have a disagreement, then you could say, okay, here's the evidence, here's the result. But if you work in healthcare and hospitality, for example, in those sort of professions, I think when it comes to having debates or disagreements, I could say that the Thai mentality would come in play a bit more. What are some of the unexpected joys or challenges that aren't often shown in YouTube videos? Ooh, I think there are many. I think when it comes to challenges, it could come down to just a simple thing as how it's harder for Thai people to travel abroad, for example, because Thailand is quite welcoming towards tourists. I think sometimes some tourists would think that, oh, then Thai people could go and visit these and these countries too. But in reality, it's quite hard for Thai people to travel to so many places. Our passport is not strong. So, for example, if you want to go to the US, UK, anywhere in the Schengen area, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, all of these countries, you need to apply for visas. And you also need to show that you have enough money to go there by showing your bank statement in the last 3 or 6 months. So this would require you to prepare for the trip about 2 months before you actually take the trip, which is actually okay. But the inconvenient thing is that, let's say, if your friend is going to get married spontaneously, then you might not be able to join the wedding because you don't have time to apply for the visas, for instance. I think some other challenges may come from the fact of being seen as a Thai person itself. I have a friend who's Russian, and he told me that when the war broke out, everyone that he came across seemed to label him as a villain first, which isn't a good thing. I think when it comes to Thai people, I don't think that the label that people put for a Thai person is of being a villain. Sometimes you can see that I think Thai people in general aren't perceived so seriously in the international world, for example, which isn't a bad thing. I think people tend to look at Thai people as someone who's sweet and friendly, but people don't tend to see the Thai people seriously. These are the things that are just very subtle, but an example that I can give you is, one time I was hanging out with a group of people and I was offering my opinion on a certain thing. And then this person who's not from Thailand, he looked at me and he said, is that some sort of a Thai education? And I don't actually know how to interpret his statement. Maybe he didn't mean what I thought he meant, but at the same time, as a Thai person, you would come across these sort of things where people would say something that make you wonder, are they trying to patronize me or am I reading between the line too much? So yeah, so these are some of the mental challenges that I think a Thai person could face in the international world as well. When it comes to unexpected joy, though, I love this question. I don't think there is any unexpected joy, and that is because I think all the joy is expected in Thailand. There is this concept in Thai called sanuk. The word sanuk in Thai is used so often. It means fun loving, it means to be joyful. And I think maybe this is so intrinsic into the Thai culture. I think Thai people expect joy in almost any situations. Sometimes people can even smile and laugh in funerals, for example. Obviously, this is also a bit of a blanket statement, and there is always caveat to all of the things I'm saying. But I think in general, you would see that Thai people would use the smile when they don't know the answer. Let's say a teacher asks you a question and you have no idea what she was talking about. You're like, and you smile. So I feel like joy is where people go to in any situation. This fun loving, this joy, this sanuk is so expected. It's almost this self-defense mechanism even, if I have to say, like we just go to sanuk. I think so much so that it's related to what I've just said about the challenges earlier, because I think Thai people tend to use having fun, having so much joy as our defense mechanism. I think the international world look at us and think, oh, we can't take these people seriously. So I think, yeah, there are two sides of a coin as well. But yeah, I would say that joy is very much expected. There's so much joy to be had in Thailand. And I think maybe this is probably my favorite part of being a Thai person, personally. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched until the end, I just want to say that I am so grateful for you. Even if you don't watch until the end, thank you so much for all of your support. Chapter 2 of Q&A is coming out soon, so stay tuned. Thank you again. Bye bye.